Good evening. Shabbat Shalom. For tonight is the first night of Sukkoth, the Feast of Tabernacles. It has historic as well as prophetic implications. But we're not going to talk about that tonight. Instead, I was in an argument the other day with a gentleman who proclaimed that even slaves only paid 20% tax. We as Americans pay 23% plus sales tax plus property tax plus all these other taxes. Rant, rave, rant, rave, rant, rave. So I looked it up. And tonight we're going to go over Genesis chapter 47. My scientific background says, get the data. This is the data. Genesis chapter 47, starting in verse 1. Then Joseph came and told Pharaoh and said, My father and my brethren and their flocks and their herds and all that they have are come out of the land of Canaan, and, behold, they are in the land of Goshen. And he took some of his brethren, even 5 men, and presented them unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto his brethren, What is your occupation? And they said unto Pharaoh, Your servants are shepherds, both we and also our fathers. Then said they moreover unto Pharaoh, For to sojourn in the land we are come, for your servants have no pasture for their flocks, for the famine is sore in the land of Canaan. Now therefore, we pray you, let your servants dwell in the land of Goshen. And Pharaoh spoke unto Joseph, saying, Your father and their brethren are come unto you. The land of Egypt is before you. In the best land make your father and your brethren to dwell. In the land of Goshen let them dwell. And if you know any men active among them, then make them rulers over my cattle. And Joseph brought Jacob his father, and set him before Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Jacob, How old are you? And Jacob said unto Pharaoh, The days of the years of my pilgrimage are 130 years. Few and evil have the days of the years of my life been, and have not attained unto the days of the years of the life of my fathers in the days of their pilgrimage. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh, and went out from before Pharaoh. And Joseph placed his father and his brethren, and gave them a possession in the land of Egypt, in the best of the land, in the land of Ramses, as Pharaoh had commanded. And Joseph nourished his father and his brethren, and all of his father's household, with bread, according to their families. And there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of famine. And Joseph gathered the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan for the corn which they bought. And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. And when the money failed, the money in, in the circulation, and when the money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came to Joseph and said, Give us bread, for why should we die in your presence? For the money failed. And Joseph said, Give me your cattle, and I will give you for your cattle if the money fail. And they brought their cattle unto Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for the horses, and for the flocks, and for the cattle, and for the herds, and for the asses, and he fed them with bread and all of their cattle for that year. When that year was ended, they came unto him the second year, and said to him, We won't hide it from you, my lord, how that our money is spent, and my lord also has our herds of cattle. There is not a thing left in the sight of my lord, but our bodies and our lands. Therefore, shall we die before your eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants unto Pharaoh. and give us seed, that we may live and not die, that the land be not desolate. And Joseph bought all of the land in Egypt for Pharaoh, for the Egyptians sold every man his field because of the famine that prevailed over them. So the land became Pharaoh's. And as for the people, he moved them into cities from one end of the borders of Egypt even unto the other end thereof. Only the land of the priests bought he not, for the priests had a portion assigned to them of Pharaoh, and they did eat the portion which Pharaoh gave them, wherefore they sold not their land. Then Joseph said to the people, Look, I've bought you this day, you and your land, for Pharaoh. Look, here is seed for you, and you shall sow the land. And it shall come to pass in the increase that you shall give the 5th part unto Pharaoh, and 4 parts you shall keep for your own, for seed for the field, and for your food, and for them of your household, and for food for your little ones. And they said, You have saved our lives. Let us find grace in your sight, my lord, and we will be Pharaoh's servants. Asterisk down at the bottom, slaves. And Joseph made it a law over the land of Egypt unto this day that Pharaoh should have the 5th part, except of the land of the priests only, which became not Pharaoh's. And Israel dwelt in the land of Egypt, in the country of Goshen, and they had possessions therein. And they grew and multiplied exceedingly. And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. So the whole of the age of Jacob was 147 years. And the time drew nigh that Israel must die. Asterisk down at the bottom, Israel is another name for Jacob. And he called to his son Joseph, and said unto him, If now I have found grace in your sight, put, I pray you, your hand under my thigh, and deal kindly and truly with me. Bury me not, I pray of you, in Egypt, but I will lie with my fathers, and you shall carry me out of Egypt, and bury me in their burying place. And he said, that's Joseph said, I will do as you have said. And Jacob said, Swear unto me. And he swore unto him. And Israel bowed himself upon the bed's head. That is chapter 47. Well, yeah, it does say that the land of Egypt was basically sold to the Pharaoh for food because they were starving. And the people put themselves in servitude to the Pharaoh for food. And what they promised in return was 20% of their income. And above and beyond the income, they had to gather of the corn that they planted, or the rice or the wheat. They had to gather. Some of that went to the corn or the wheat or whatever that they would plant the next year. So it's not just 20%. The king got 20%. And beyond that, the people had to figure out how to get the next year's crop planted. That wasn't the king's problem. That was the peasant's problem. Or rather, since they had sold themselves to the king, that was the problem of the slaves, to find your own seed. So yeah, very technically, slaves only paid 20% tax. Wow.